MrBeast has come to be one of YouTube's primary icons. He had the classic YouTube story that millions look to replicate even today, from his humble beginnings making crappy Minecraft videos on his mom's laptop to the millionaire superstar we see today. By this point, it's common knowledge as to who he is, with his immense fame so large it has attracted the attention of major news outlets. His already gargantuan subscriber count is expected to reach 100 million in a mere 16 months if current trends continue, and a few months after reaching 100 million subscribers, he's expected to eclipse PewDiePie to become the largest individual content creator on YouTube. The fact that he's made his name on YouTube is why it shocked a great deal of people when he made this tweet a few months ago. In it, he states that he might consider running for president one day. While he likely meant this as a joke, the fact that a great deal of major news outlets commented on it made me want to imagine a scenario where the man behind MrBeast, Jimmy Donaldson, actually ran for president of the United States. Although he's ineligible to run until 2036, let's cast that aside for a moment to try and figure out what party he would run for. Using the Wayback Machine, I was able to find an old video that gives a clear description of his political views. While this video no longer exists on his main channel, just based on the title you can already see his clear dislike for Donald Trump. He also made his view about Trump clear in this video titled, Going to the Conor McGregor Fight. I would show snippets from both videos, but whenever I click on the Vermin Supreme video, this pops up. Because of that, I can only show the snippet from the Going to the Conor McGregor Fight video. But before I show you the clip, I'd like to give a moment to today's sponsor, my subscribe button. Based on my analytics, less than 15% of my viewers actually hit the subscribe button. If you don't want to, that's fine, but it would be greatly appreciated. It literally only takes 1.3 seconds to do so. Anyways, back to the video.
What's up, guys? I'm currently staying at the Trump Hotel, and Trump may suck at being president.
Along with these two videos showing MrBeast's animus towards Trump, a separate tweet shows his close friend's political views. Chris Tyson made this tweet in November, stating that he has a great deal of problems with Donald Trump and Mike Pence. While this isn't that useful in showing the political orientation of MrBeast himself, we can assume that his close friends would share similar views to him. While these three pieces of media don't paint the best picture of MrBeast's political views, they are certainly the best evidence we have at the moment. Due to the fact that he could potentially lose millions of fans if he declares his support for a certain party or politician, he would most likely never do so. Because we will never get an affirmative view on his political orientation, I will assume that MrBeast will run as a Democrat, with the only available evidence being his distaste for Donald Trump. I understand that it isn't the best evidence to go off of, but it is the only thing that I have that can allow me to make assumptions. As mentioned before, MrBeast is too young to announce his candidacy for president, but by the time he is legible, he most likely would have built a reputation among his numerous charitable stunts, which would have given him the media's open support. He isn't without controversy though, as the reason he was able to create his initial rise to stardom was with his worst intro series. This series no longer exists on his main channel, as many have interpreted the videos as cyberbullying young children. Using the Wayback Machine, we can find these videos, to which I will be playing two clips of what many saw as cyberbullying.
What did that bed do to deserve such torture? Seriously though, how would you react as a parent if you walk in your kid's room and he's doing that on the bed? Hey, do you want some? I knew we should have got you a phone. Get over here. It's gonna hurt you a lot more than...
Hello and welcome to YouTube. Hello the great people of YouTube. So today I have a nice day. So yeah.
You know that saying, stay in school, don't do drugs? Well, if you're gonna make intros like that in school, I'd rather you do drugs.
Personally, I do not see MrBeast's actions as cyberbullying, as he was just making lighthearted jokes towards what is clearly a low-effort intro, but whoever runs against MrBeast would more than certainly use these old clips as a way to create negative press towards him. I don't see this as that negative of an effect to his campaign, but it will certainly create a tiny bit of negative stigma towards him, which I expect will die down as his good deeds most certainly will outweigh his bad ones. When it comes to the actual election itself, I wouldn't expect MrBeast to even win the primaries for one main reason. MrBeast would be not just a Washington outsider, but a political outsider. While many think this is beneficial to a campaign, this is no longer true. In 2016, Donald Trump was able to capture the votes of many independent voters as they saw him as a change from centuries of career politicians running the country and wanted a fresh change to the presidential atmosphere. His shockingly low approval ratings for obvious reasons, corroded that feeling of wanting a political outsider in the Oval Office, which is why MrBeast would be at a severe disadvantage even in the primaries. But let's assume that MrBeast wins the Democratic primaries for whatever reason and advances to the general election against his Republican opponent. Before counting the swing states, I would expect the electoral map to look something like this. While North Carolina would still be categorized as a swing state in 2036, I took into account that it is his home state, which is why he would most certainly win that state. The rest of the filled-in states would be safe red or blue states by the time 2036 rolls around. While it was hard casting Ohio, Iowa, New Mexico, and Colorado as safe states, it had to be done so. Their political trends have been getting farther and farther away from the median for decades now, so it's easy to assume that by the 2030s they will be safe states. Based on his old YouTube banners, MrBeast is most definitely a devout Christian, as he repeatedly quotes the Bible and shows his love for religion and what used to be primarily a gaming and comedy channel. This could allow him to appeal to about 71% of the US voting age population in 2036. While this seems like a great pillar of support, it likely won't matter that much. More than 82% of Republicans identify as Christian, meaning that his opponent will most likely be a Christian as well, cancelling out any political benefits of being a Christian for MrBeast. What I'm about to say next might seem preposterous, but if MrBeast is able to pertain to a key few groups in the general election, he actually has a chance of victory. In the majority of elections in American history, a single group of people is usually what hands the election over to the winning candidate. As an example, in 2036, this deciding group was the upper Midwestern blue-collar workers who turned out in large numbers in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania to hand those states to Donald Trump. Because of their large turnout, Trump won those states by razor-thin margins and secured the presidency. I feel like the same scenario would apply for MrBeast's election, but instead of blue-collar workers, I would expect Generation Z voters to turn out in large numbers for MrBeast. If you look at MrBeast's demographics, you'll see that the vast supermajority of them fall into the Generation Z age range. By the time MrBeast actually runs for president, literally all of Generation Z will be between the ages of 21 to 36, which is well within the boundaries of the voting age. This extremely large group of voters will have grown up watching MrBeast's videos and will most likely feel a positive connection to him as they have been watching his videos for years, and will have watched him go from the beginning of his fame to where he is today. This group will most likely recognize him as a charitable person, as they have memories of seeing his wholesome videos where he gives to those in need. MrBeast being able to capture the Generation Z vote will net him a win in some of, if not the most important battleground states in 2036, such as Texas, Georgia, and Arizona by extremely tiny margins. In each of these three states, the average population has been getting younger and younger every year, which gives MrBeast a boost in his primary demographic. Along with that, this map pulled from Google Trends shows the search popularity of a keyword in each state, in this case the keyword being MrBeast. As you can see, Texas, Arizona, and Georgia are among the darkest states, meaning that his search popularity is extremely high there compared to states such as Montana or Alaska. This high amount of popularity for MrBeast in these three states adds to the chances of him garnering a victory in them. Along with MrBeast's above-average internet popularity in these states, the Democratic Party as a whole has been making massive bounds within these states. Based on these graphs, you can see that these states have progressively been getting more blue, with Arizona and Georgia having already crossed the threshold in 2020. Texas is expected to be directly touching the median line in 2028, and it wouldn't be unreasonable to think that it might actually cross it and vote Democrat in 2036 when MrBeast actually runs for president. Because of those reasons, I would categorize these three states as Democratic for MrBeast. When it comes to the other 6 swing states, I would categorize Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota as Republican for the 2036 election. They are all currently split right down the middle in terms of party strength in 2020, with the Republican Party making massive leads due to the decreased urbanization and aging population, along with a decreasing minority population in these 3 states. Surprisingly, the opposite is true in Florida, with urbanization and minority growth on the rise, yet the Republican Party is growing stronger in the state due to an overwhelming majority of Cuban Americans voting Republican. But when it comes to Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Nevada, I would categorize them as Democrat in 2036 for the opposite reason. They are all experiencing increased urban expansion, a younger population, and an increased minority growth with Hispanics in Nevada along with blacks in Virginia and Pennsylvania. To conclude, in the scenario I've just played out, MrBeast would win the Electoral College with a total of 322 votes compared to his opponent's 216. Past the election itself, it would be very difficult to determine how MrBeast would govern as president, but it would be easy to assume that his platform would consist of universal social benefits. This is evident in the fact that his videos widely consist of sharing his wealth with others, which would be the base of what I assume could be a universal basic income. Beyond that, it would be almost impossible to see how MrBeast would govern the United States. In reality, this scenario is made just for fun and is in no way realistic. If MrBeast were to actually run for president, the chances of him winning would be close to 0. Yet, there is still a tiny but reasonable chance MrBeast could win. People laughed at Donald Trump when he announced his candidacy in 2015. They saw him as a washed-up celebrity trying desperately to keep his fame intact. Yet, he defied all odds and actually became president. This means that anyone with the right amount of fame and money has a chance at the Oval Office, and MrBeast most definitely fits those requirements. Still, I would like to thank you for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe.